The storm had rolled in faster than anyone expected, hurling sheets of rain and wind across the sleepy little town of Ridgefield. It was the kind of storm that swallowed up sound, that turned familiar backroads into haunted corridors of mist and shadow. Somewhere in the chaos of that night, 4 children vanished without a trace. The entire town mobilized. Flashlights pierced the darkness. Names were screamed into the wind. Flyers littered telephone poles by morning. It wasn't just any 4 kids. It was the Thompson siblings, Emma, 13, twins Jack and James, 10, and little Sophie, only 6 years old. Their mother, Rachel, was inconsolable, her voice raw from screaming their names into the cold. They had disappeared from their own backyard. Search parties scoured the woods and fields surrounding the Thompson farm. Drones were flown overhead. Dogs were brought in from 3 counties. But by the 3rd day, hope was unraveling thread by thread. People started muttering the worst. Maybe they'd wandered too far. Maybe someone had taken them. But then Zeus arrived. K9 Zeus was a retired police dog, a German shepherd with a long scar down his right leg and cloudy eyes that told of too many long nights in dark alleys. He was supposed to be spending his retirement lounging in the sun with his handler, Sergeant Rick Morales, who had served with him for nearly a decade. But when Rick heard about the missing kids, Zeus was already pacing by the door, ears alert. There was no keeping him home. On the 4th day, Sergeant Morales joined the expanding search grid with Zeus. Most of the volunteers were focusing on the surrounding forest or the riverbank 2 miles down. Rick, however, kept thinking about the storm. It had been too violent, too dangerous. Would kids really run far in that? Maybe they didn't run at all. Maybe they hid. He started near the barn. The structure was an old red-roofed skeleton, long abandoned and assumed empty. A couple of volunteers had peeked inside on the 1st day, but found nothing. Just hay, rusted tools, and an echoing emptiness. But as Zeus padded through the barn doors, something changed. He stopped. His ears twitched. His tail went stiff. Then he growled, a deep, low rumble that Rick hadn't heard in years. Rick watched as Zeus started scratching furiously at a patch of earth near the far wall, a spot that looked no different from the rest of the barn floor. And then Zeus started to bark. Loud, sharp, urgent barks. Rick ran over, falling to his knees beside the dog. The soil was loose, fresh. That was strange. He dug with his hands. Inches down, his fingers hit something, cloth. Then, a sound, muffled, weak, a whimper. Within minutes, backup arrived. The barn floor was a mess of flying dirt and shouted instructions. And then, like a miracle carved out of the earth, they pulled them out, one by one. Emma, her arms wrapped tightly around Sophie. Jack and James, clinging to each other. Pale, crying, alive. They were dehydrated, disoriented, and freezing. But alive. The barn had been their refuge from the storm. They'd crawled in through a loose plank after Sophie panicked and ran from the backyard when the thunder cracked like a gunshot. The others chased her, but when they tried to get back out, the entrance had collapsed behind them. A stack of rotted lumber had caved in, sealing them in. It had been 4 days. No food, barely any water. Emma had kept them sane, singing lullabies, telling stories, keeping Sophie from screaming in the dark. But she confessed later that by the 4th night, she thought they wouldn't wake up at all. Zeus had found them just in time. The recovery was long. Physically, they healed fast. But emotionally, Rachel slept on the floor next to their beds for weeks. The twins wouldn't let go of each other. Sophie had night terrors, but they had a therapist. They had family. They had the entire town behind them. And they had Zeus. After his rescue, the town held a celebration in Zeus's honor. Children wore paper German shepherd ears. The mayor gave him a giant bone wrapped in blue ribbon. But the real honor came quietly, every time one of the Thompson kids reached out to pet him. Every time Sophie curled up against his side like he was her living teddy bear. Zeus passed away 2 years later, peacefully, with Rick holding his paw and the Thompson kids by his side. They buried him on the Thompson farm, right next to the barn. The barn they now kept in good condition, not as a working structure, but as a place of memory. Inside, they hung a large framed photo of Zeus, tongue out, ears alert, eyes wise. The plaque beneath it read, "He heard what we could not. He saw what we missed. He saved what we thought was lost." And in that quiet town, people told the story for years to come. Not just about a heroic dog, but about holding on to hope when all signs tell you to give up. About listening to your instincts. And about the kind of loyalty that digs through dirt and darkness, just to bring your children home. Because sometimes, miracles don't come with flashing lights. Sometimes, they come with paws and a bark. And sometimes, the barn isn't empty at all.